If you are stalling, if you are waiting for the right plan or the perfect timing or the clear path, let this podcast be for you as I am literally doing this while stuffy nose, baby is nursing. You'll see a foot pop in from time to time. The thing is that clarity is just a mirage and the world doesn't necessarily guarantee it. But in this video, in this podcast, I'm going to show you some clear strategies that can at least help you get to a level of clarity where you can have certainty in the decision making process. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to the Crown Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer. And like I said, if you happen to hear some gurgling or a foot kicks the mic, that is just because I am also simultaneously nursing my daughter while healing from a really annoying 2.5 week bout with laryngitis and a cold and allergies and all the things. And I'm still showing up because that is what queens do. And it's because I was like, what better way to talk about how to lead when no one knows what's coming next? When literally, as a mom, especially with young children, you don't know what's coming next. You know that probably lunch is going to come. Like maybe lunch is going to come. Someone's going to want snacks, but planning your day is very different. Planning your future is very different when you have littles, when you have a business, and when you are living in the disruptive time that we currently are living in. Like right now, in the next decade, we are going to see more change than humanity has experienced, like in the past couple hundred years, if not more. So the thing that I see, though, having coached leaders for 9 years now, is that so often we'll delay our decisions because we're waiting for that right plan or we're trying to build that perfect timing or that clear strategy. And I was just chatting with one of my clients from 6 years ago who said, Kim, I'm going back to the plan that we laid out in our consult call 6 years ago to restructure his business. I do believe in divine timing. I believe things land when they land. And I also know that astrologically, we are currently going through a karmic reset, in essence, of all the things that you know that you should have done that you didn't do. This is your time where if you're still dallying around with that lack of clarity on the how, we're going to kick that crap to the curb right now because the clarity is in go. What you want to feel is you want to feel unshakable confidence. And it's hard to feel unshakable confidence when you are uncertain because confidence is cultivated in times of uncertainty. So you're trying to feel something that you don't feel normally until after you've done the thing. So the thing is, though, is that in order to manifest confidence, you have to walk through that uncertainty. You have to walk through that chaos. And even if chaos hits and AI disruption and market collapse and cultural upheavals happen and someone spills something on the wardrobe that you were going to wear right before jumping on to doing a podcast interview, because that happens regularly as a mom, you know that you're solid because you are solid in the things that you stand for. When you lead in times of uncertainty, it's not about not having uncertainty. It is about being confident in your ability to figure things out and sourcing your confidence from the place that no matter what hits, you still are able to figure things out. Most people put their confidence in the outcome. But how can you put your confidence in an outcome that hasn't happened yet, especially in times of radical uncertainty that we are in? You put your confidence in the process of figuring things out. And here's the thing, we are undoing a lot of programming in this space then, because the process has never been what's been rewarded in the past. We're rewarded for the outcome of the, K months, right? We're rewarded with the A plus, with the outcome. We're not necessarily rewarded with showing our work. And yet, when we can stop waiting for clarity and trust that we are clear in the moment, that we can make the best decision with the information that we have available, and that bold leaders move without guarantees. And the audacity to act in uncertain times is actually what separates sovereign leaders from the spectators who sit in the crowd and wait for certainty, and they're waiting for that perfection, and then they'll critique the ones who are actually doing the dang thing. But here's the thing, when I gave my TED Talk 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, four. When I gave my TED Talk, I didn't have it all mapped out. I had ideas mapped out and I was ready with a potential speech, but I didn't know what would come of it. I didn't know sending a few emails would actually result in it. And I waited a long dang time trying to figure out when that would actually happen. I moved anyway. I acted as if. I found a speaker coach even before I was ready. I kept moving as if it was happening. And that's the thing is with manifestation and with creating any goal is so often we are not moving with the certainty that the outcome of what we desire is actually happening because we're not trusting ourselves in the process. You trust yourself in the process when you have certainty in the vision of what it is that you're creating, even without faith. That is what faith is. So my book didn't end up in a New York Times billboard because I waited for the perfect PR plan and for everything to map out. I trusted that the more I put myself out there, the more I showed up, regardless of how I felt, the more I showed up to promote my book, the more opportunities would come my way. And that's exactly what happened. When I became a mother running my business, like there was no playbook for that chaos. Like there's none. And there are many times I did stall. There are many times I waited and delayed and hesitated because being a mother, being a parent is radically uncertain and scary. And you're meeting yourself and your shadow every single day. But yet I still built a business and I still chose to thrive alongside my family. And I said, even though I don't know the full outcome of every child's outcome of what's going to happen with how they're going to live their lives and have everything perfectly mapped out for them, like as much as a recovering control freak, that is incredibly hard. Like, I know my kids have their own goals and I want to support them in that. Do I know if those are actually going to happen? No, but I'm going to give them the tools. I'm going to support them with building the skill sets. And we're going to act as if that's what they want to do, then we'll keep acting as if until they tell me otherwise and they tell me they want to pivot. But that's how you thrive is by trusting in the process. And I know you've heard it said to trust in the process, but what does it actually mean to trust in the process? And what it means is the process that you have for figuring it out. And so what is the process that you have for gathering in the information that you need to figure out and make an embodied decision? And when I learned this next fact that I'm going to tell you, it changed my world for how much information, how much knowledge, how much all the things I need before I make an actual decision. Amazon, trillion-dollar company, a trillion-dollar company leads. Their leadership board makes decisions swiftly with 40 to 60% of the information available. That means you don't have to know it all. You just got to know that you're going to trust, you're going to try, you're going to put some things into work. Some of it will work, some of it won't work, and you keep going. And and people, when they see that, they build certainty in themselves for trusting their own process. I think the best example of this is labor. You can have your plan as far as how you want birth to go in all the ways. And yet there will be things, right? She's like, because I had my perfect plan. I knew that I gave myself an extra 10 days on the potential labor because I was giving birth in the contiguous United States where typically, I go a little later on having a baby. My babies were born at 41 weeks and 4 days and 42 weeks and 1 day. So I said, I knew that in the US, typically in most states, you can't have a home birth after 42 weeks. So I gave myself an extra 10 days of leverage until this little lady decides to serve me with a dose of breaking my water and then not actually starting labor. And so I had to trust myself, trust my body, trust my team, my midwifery team, that I had the information available and I was in the present moment. And I think that is the piece that we miss when we are trying to plot and plan and have everything go perfectly is we are missing our presence. Because it is with presence that clarity comes. It is with presence that you're still able to move and make a decision from that point of presence. I mean, I remember the moment when I was presented with the TEDx opportunity to give a TED Talk. And it was 3 weeks prior. And as soon as I was presented with the opportunity, the producers were like, yes, we would love to have you join. And we have one spot left. Will you be ready in 3 weeks? I remember my fear-based brain, my ego was like, "Oh my God." And it ran through the litany of excuses and reasons and all the things as to why it wasn't going to happen, why this is insane, ridiculous, audacious, and all the things. But as soon as I realized that it was audacious and that it was my fear speaking and that this was a huge opportunity for me, I said yes. I said yes, regardless, knowing that I would trust myself and I would pour everything I could into making that a reality. And it worked out. The same is true with birthing. The same is true with motherhood. The same is true with a business. When you keep stalling, waiting for a guarantee, nothing in life is guaranteed. And you know that. You know that. But at the same time, you can put your trust in yourself and dare to lead audaciously into the unknown, being fully present with the information that you have right now available to you, and step forward. Keep moving forward one step at a time. I challenge you to lead today in times of uncertainty. Where have you been searching and sourcing for clarity and looking for more knowledge when really you just needed to make a freaking decision? And it doesn't mean it's going to be the right decision, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be the best decision, but you're going to make the best decision that you can with the information that you have available. That's why people say hindsight is 20/20, because in hindsight, you have more information available. And then you're like, oh, I probably would have made a different decision had I had this information available. But trusting that when you make a decision with the information that you have available, that is going to be the right decision. I have a belief system, and feel free to borrow this. Like, try it on like a set of clothes. Yeah, this is mommy's belief system. I believe that I always make the right decisions, right? Even when I make a mistake. Even when I make a mistake. Because then I learn something from it. And I learn a skill set, a belief system, a strategy that I wouldn't have had before had I not made that mistake. And so trust that even in your ability to make mistakes, that you're still making the right decision. That's how you trust in the process. If you are looking for permission to be bolder, if you are desiring for a space that will hold you in accountability to taking those bold moves, then the collective is open for enrollment. The collective is my monthly group coaching membership, where every week you get an audio activation that helps you build your mindset, your skill set, your business, your branding, your marketing, your sales strategy, your persuasion, your influence, your infrastructure that you need to rule both personally and professionally. And in the collective, you get monthly coaching with me, where we dive in and you get real-time feedback and growth in the spaces that you need to be a little bolder. Yes, my love. So if you love this episode, then I encourage you to click the link down below and jump into the collective. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed Reagan's debut on the Crown Yourself podcast. And I look forward to seeing those of you who it feels aligned AF to jump into the collective, to see you inside there with me and sometimes baby girl. Have the best day. I'll see you in the next episode.